Picture this. You're standing on a beach, somewhere around 50,000 years ago. Behind you is everything you have ever known. Ahead of you is open water, stretching to a horizon with no land in sight.
No campes.
No map, no engine, just current, wind, and the slow certainty that if you get this wrong, you will never be found. And yet, you get in anyway. This is not a myth. This actually happened. Thousands of times, in dozens of places, ordinary humans, and even some of our non-human relatives, pushed out into open ocean. Nothing but wood, rope, and nerve. The strange part is not that they tried. The strange part is that, again and again, they made it. Today, crossing an ocean means boarding a plane, watching a movie, and stepping off 8 hours later on the other side of the planet. We barely think about the water beneath us. But for most of human history, water was not scenery. It was the single hardest problem our ancestors ever faced. Harder than fire. Harder than hunting a mammoth. Because you cannot outthink a current. You cannot negotiate with a riptide. The ocean simply does not care how clever you are. So when archaeologists find evidence of early crossings, the real question is not just how. It is why anyone would even attempt it. Let's start with the deepest end of the story. On the island of Flores, in modern Indonesia, researchers have found stone tools dating back at least 1 million years. The site is called Wallacea. Flores was never connected to the Asian mainland, even at the lowest sea levels. To get there, whoever made those tools had to cross open water. And this was not modern Homo sapiens. This was almost certainly an earlier, more archaic hominin, quite possibly Homo erectus. Let that sit for a moment. A species that predates us, with a smaller brain and no complex language as far as we know, may have crossed the sea 1 million years before we did. Some researchers think this crossing wasn't even intentional. Archaeologist Robert Dennell and colleagues proposed something different. These early hominins may not have been sailors at all. They may have been survivors. Caught on the coast during a tsunami or a major storm. Swept out to sea, clinging to floating vegetation. Carried by ocean currents until they washed up somewhere new. It sounds too dramatic to be science, but it isn't. During the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, some survivors drifted on debris for over a week, more than 150 kilometers, out to open sea, before rescue. If it happened in 2004, there's no reason it couldn't have happened 1 million years earlier. Whatever the truth of that first crossing, something happened to the population that landed. Cut off, isolated, limited food, no way back. Over hundreds of thousands of years, their descendants began to shrink. This isolation may have produced Homo floresiensis, the so-called hobbit, an adult standing barely over a meter tall, discovered in a cave called Liangbua in 2003. An accidental ocean crossing may have quietly created an entirely new kind of human. Now fast forward, past hundreds of thousands of years, to a very different kind of crossing. One that was not an accident at all. Around 50,000 years ago, our own species needed to reach Sahul, the landmass that would eventually become Australia and New Guinea. Even at the lowest sea levels of the Ice Age, this meant crossing a chain of islands called wallacea. And, at some point, open ocean with no land visible on either side. The oldest confirmed human site in northern Australia, a rock shelter called Majdbib, dates to around 65,000 years ago. This crossing succeeded, repeatedly, tens of thousands of years before agriculture, before writing, before the wheel. Humans built vessels capable of planned, open ocean voyages, carrying enough people to found a lasting population. For a long time, this was just assumed, but assumptions are not evidence. So a team led by Professor Yusuke Keifu of the University of Tokyo decided to test it. Their target, a related mystery, the Ryukyu Islands of southern Japan, 30,000 years ago, crossed against the Kuroshio, one of the most powerful ocean currents on Earth. They tried a reed raft first. It fell apart before it could cross. They tried a bamboo raft. Too slow. The current pushed it backward. 2 failures, using the best materials available. Then, in July of 2019, they tried a dugout canoe, carved from a single Japanese cedar trunk, with replica stone tools. They named it Sugime. 5 paddlers. No GPS.
No campes.
They launched from eastern Taiwan toward Yonaguni Island, over 200 kilometers away. For most of the journey, they could not see their destination at all. They navigated by sun in the day and stars at night, deliberately paddling against the current, aiming ahead of where the water would carry them. 45 hours later, exhausted, bailing water the entire way, they arrived. Here's the twist that makes this more than a good story. This wasn't just endurance. It was proof of something far more surprising. Deliberate strategic thinking, using tools from a supposedly primitive past. Paleolithic humans crossing this water 30,000 years ago weren't simply lucky. They understood currents well enough to compensate for them. They read the sky well enough to hold a course for 2 straight days without seeing land. That is not luck. That is expertise, passed down and trusted completely. This is where the bigger idea comes into focus. We tend to draw a hard line between modern humans and everyone before them. But ocean crossings blow that line apart. To cross open water on purpose, you need shared language to plan the voyage. You need trust, because everyone is putting their life in the other's hands. You need to imagine a place you've never seen and choose to go there anyway. Scholars have argued these deliberate crossings are among the earliest evidence of full modern human behavior, tied to language and symbolic thought. The ocean didn't just test our ancestors' bodies. It revealed their minds. But let's stay honest, because this story is genuinely unresolved. The Flores hominins may well have arrived by pure chance. Isotope studies from the Max Planck Institute on teeth found at Timor and Alor show even confirmed settlers relied heavily on coastal resources at first. Tough, marginal beginnings, not a smooth expansion. And ocean simulations alongside the Sugime voyage showed success depended on ideal conditions. Calm seas, a skilled crew, a precise angle against the current. Change one variable, and the outcome flips to failure. So the honest picture isn't ancient humans effortlessly conquering the sea. Some crossings were accidents that reshaped entire species. Others were calculated risks that succeeded because the risk was carefully managed. Which brings us to the real idea buried in all of this. Long before anyone wrote a word down, before cities, before crops, humans and their ancestors were already capable of something we now reserve for astronauts. They were willing to leave everything solid and familiar behind, on nothing but a plan, a current, and each other. We imagine the earliest humans as passive, just reacting to the world. But someone had to look at open ocean, with no shore beyond it, and decide the unknown was worth the risk. So next time you glance out an airplane window at empty ocean below, remember this. Somewhere beneath those waves lie routes that people crossed on rafts and dugout canoes, using only starlight, current, and courage. Tens of thousands of years before anyone thought to ask if it was possible. They didn't wait for certainty. They paddled straight into the unknown and simply trusted that land was still there, exactly as the elders had promised.